Hi, welcome to a tour of the in-progress Cretacea Park. This was a build that I did during pre-alpha. It was featured on the Discord to demonstrate the guests moving through the park. And it's probably going to be a little sluggish for us today because it's suffering a little from the upgrades for the game as it goes through its pre-alpha and into its alpha phase. We have restrooms off the entrance, and you can see the entrance, which is pretty much standard, as well as the T-Rex Cafe, also pretty much standard at this point. The benches are constructed out of modular items. They will be replaced by benches from the game because I didn't have those benches when I started building this park. And this is an information center and excuse me, orientation center and education center that I built using the modular pieces. And over on the other side of this main plaza is a foundation and pad for what is intended to be the introductory movie theater for the park. Beyond the trees there, you can see the genetics lab where the animals are made. So we're going to see how well we can go through the park. It's giving me a real low frame rate at this point. I think it has something to do with the fact of the age of the base of this build. So down this plaza, we have two path options. You can skip the Microraptor Grove and go around it, and eventually you'll be able to move off to the left and go into another area of the park when we get those animals. Right now I'm working with the basic animals that come in this first alpha build, and one of those is the Microraptor. We should be able to see some here. I'm working with a fantasy that this animal has been discovered to be quite a homebody and is very content to stay put as long as it has food and water. So it can be displayed as an open air animal. This is patterned in my mind after an experiment that the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. did some years ago, where they let some of their tamarin monkeys out just into the park that the zoo is built in. At least during the summer. They would take them in for the winter. But the animals would stay close to their source of food. And I think this is just a neat idea to have this sort of experiential section of the park. So let's wander around in here. The idea is that guests would come into this grove and be able to choose different paths wandering through and possibly get up close to the Microraptors, possibly just enjoy the shady foliage in here. But it's built with using the Microraptor mini aviary and setting it to null and supplementing the foliage set that comes with it with additional plants to blend it in to the, there goes one flying, to blend it in to the... There goes another one. They're fast little buggers sometimes. Anyway, to blend it in so it all seems very natural. And the idea is that guests would be able to pick their own path moving through this area, preferably staying on the paths, but maybe not. I mean, in the game they should, but in real life, we all know kids would get off the path for dang sure. And then finally emerge here, and there's a bridge over there and another path leading off this way. This direction is planned to have additional structures for some of the animals that will be coming post Alpha and into EA. This path will take you down through a canyon. Spin this up so that you can get a look at that. I'm not going to take a cruise through that as part of this video, since there are no animals there at the moment. And we'll instead go over to the bridge. If you're on the Discord server, you've pretty much seen this shot with it full of people. And this is intended to be a large swampy area. And as you come over the bridge, there's an option to move into this little alcove area where you can look out onto this somewhat swampy area, and you might catch sight of, there goes one hiding on the other side of those cattails. See if we can get an angle on him. Where'd you go, little dinosaur? And it is one of the little dinosaurs. Well, we'll take advantage of the fact that we can fly and get into the enclosure, and we will see a Nasutoceratops who has decided to take a nap in the water here. And once again, my computer has frozen, which is part of what's going to be interrupting this tour. Oh, it says it's saving. I think the autosaving is still activated. And where did that leave us? It dumped us in the water next to Nasutoceratops. He's a cute little boy. This actually is a little girl. You can see the crowny note on the cursor, which tells you you've come across an animal, and it will give you the information as to what particular animal it is. And we drive below the water, and you can see that she's actually just walking along there. There's several of them in here, and this enclosure is way too big for these rather small dinosaurs. There's several of them in here, but the intention is to later add another animal that is contemporaneous with these guys, and want more space for that. And as we slide across there's one. So we slide across the enclosure, we're going to get to their little barn, which is also doubling as a viewing point for the guests. And there's another one. And here's that barn. We just slipped in underneath it there. Oh, come on. There we go. So, sometimes the controls are overly sensitive. So, I've built, after quite a bit of time of it being cranky, all of a sudden it decides to be really sensitive and go zooming around. So this is an elevated viewing area, and it's made with modular pieces. There are ramps inside the building here that guests can come up, and they will, up onto this platform where they can view the dinosaur. In alpha, early alpha anyway, we do not have information screens for the animals, so I have used a substitute of using one of the dark glass windows to serve as a stand-in for an information screen. And this, of course, will probably emit light eventually because it appears to be that sort of texture. So this area is intended to be the main education area for Nasutoceratops, and one of the bugs that's plaguing the saving of modular elements right now is that things will occasionally disappear. And it said Nasutoceratops on both sides at one point. But this whole thing is being a little buggy in terms of getting everything to come back and play well together. One of the things, if you're new to Prehistoric Kingdom, is you'll notice there aren't any donation bins and stuff. The devs, I think, plan to build it into the system to rate your enclosure on how well it's built and stuff. And that will generate donations without having to have cans everywhere. In case you're wondering, the benches you're seeing here are not part of the bench selection that is in alpha, but rather this is built out of modular pieces. Since I did this before the pre-made benches dropped into the game, and have been having issues getting them replaced out. That's because of my computer system or something. Anyway, if we follow this path along, we will move on to the next exhibit. And I lost my rock there too. Another, I had this covered up with a rock. There's an elevated area here in this exhibit, so occasionally the animals will come up here and can be seen by guests as they move along the path. You can see one moving there in the background. But we're going to move down now toward the viewing area for this section of the park. I know I got some plants that need to be adjusted. But here we are, and I can see now that I have lost another sign. And there's first good look at a Lambiosaur. And he's going to turn his butt at us. So I built this little viewing pavilion. And inside it are a couple of benches and this kiosk, which I am envisioning as a future place for information boards about the animals. So he really wants to turn his butt to us, doesn't he? We move around, so does he. Anyway, Lambiosaurus and his exhibit buddy, Styracosaurus, who's going to lie down and just pose for us. You can see this build includes water and a temporary faux waterfall. I'm hoping we'll see those in the very near future. But I built the water on 2 levels here because I really want a waterfall in this exhibit. You can see that this exhibit is multi-level and the animals are roaming all over it. They, in this early stage of their AI, they have a tendency to have a limited set of behaviors, because that's what's built in, but they also seem to have favorite places to hang out in. So you can repeatedly find some of them in the same places. So this is the Bearpaw Forest, as I'm calling it, and it's based on the Dinosaur Park formation, which bordered the Bearpaw Sea. They will have a shelter and keeper area in the back, which, due to some of my available time and some of the glitches in getting builds working in the last few days, is not there. Let's get out of this exhibit. Both of these animals are contemporaneous and from the same formation. Paths are still a little glitchy, but they're going to get better. As you can see, when we get close to them, they seem to be fine. But if I pull out a little bit, you can see they go all patchy. So up on the hill, you can start to see the major construction for this park at this stage. And you may even be able to read its name by now. This is Hell Creek Station. And so we have two animals from Hell Creek in this build, and we have a tree still sitting in the middle of the road that I didn't clear out. I intend this area design to be part of the Hell Creek area of the park, not just for Edmontosaurus and Tyrannosaurus. But right now I have a viewing area set up for the Edmontosaurus and another for the Tyrannosaurus, with some guest support materials here. That's news to me. There's supposed to be an information center here. As you can see, I used the pathing system and then the modular system to build a ramp up to the main viewing area. Not a lot of support yet for designing interiors of buildings, I'm afraid. So I'm going to turn here and okay, turn here and come back down. We had a little jump there during that savings because look who showed up out that door who wasn't there a moment ago. This is the Edmontosaurus Exhibit. Whoops, don't want to run off our viewing area. Give you more of a guest eye view. I've given them a little water hole here, and one of them really likes to hang out right here by the building. They've been wandering around and having a good time, I hope, as much as an Edmontosaurus can. And yes, the dinosaurs do occasionally walk through each other. And they broadcast too. So in the back of this exhibit, I have a building for them to take shelter in. We'll go check that out. All modular built. And it has the hay beds to attract the animals for sleeping. This should be a preferential area for them to sleep in their AI. It looks like we had one in there sleeping already, but now she's up. She or he? Let's spin this around. Oh, okay. They've gone back. I had a different skin in this zoo, and occasionally when the saves are glitching right now, you go to the base skin rather than the skin you originally put in. Have to figure out if there's a way to fix that short of taking the animals out and going back in. So I'm going to take a quick spin up out of the Edmontosaurus exhibit by way of a secondary viewing area that I built for this park. You'll notice it's similar to what we saw back at the Bearpaw Forest, and that's deliberate. I wanted to have a certain amount of continuity in the design and the approach. So we're just going to phase through the wall here as a guest comes through who wants to get a look at our Edmontosaurus. Or maybe not. Guess they weren't that interesting. This is a little pass through from the Edmontosaurus building to the main Hell Creek Station Mall. I guess I should pull back and let you have a look at that entrance. So it has a significant skylight over the pedestrian area. I apologize if my driving isn't the best. I'm still kind of learning this stuff myself. And I've had an entire facility disappear on me. There was an Apatow Apparel there. And it's gone now. And there was a guest room here. I'm still running through this because I think this may be the last gasp of this park. And this ramp was to lead up to a lobby area for a T-Rex Cafe, which had a viewing area over the Tyrannosaur exhibit. So we have come out of the plaza, and I'm going to spin up so you can get a look at that. That big hole is where the Apatow Apparel was, and that other hole up here is where the T-Rex Cafe was. I want to thank MH6 for getting me back this safe so I can do at least this much work with it. He's been a great help. But obviously there are some porting issues moving the parks around. This green area you see here used to be another ramp up to the upper story. I didn't mean to select that, sorry. Up to the upper story of the Tyrannosaur viewing area. Right, so in the upper story you have an elevated area to view the Tyrannosaur enclosure. And come on, I'm not that good. And we've got one sleeping out there. You know, you make him out there in the distance. Actually, I think that's her. I've got two in here, a male and a female, with the molten skin. And this area also has an order window for the T-Rex Cafe that I built out of modular pieces. Again, using windows to represent the order and menu screens, and also a little cashier arrow. Whoop, we got a Tyrannosaur up. There we go. And if we phase through the floor here to the lower viewing area, you're on Tyrannosaur level, which will, when they come for a drink of water, will give you a good view of the beasts. This also has an education area for our guests, representing keyboard stations and computer screens where they could access information about the animals and about the efforts of the park. So multiple stations inside here. So let's phase through the window and come out into the park, give you a better look at that Tyrannosaur. Sleeping with her head on a rock. Uh-oh, she noticed us. Let's move along here. So for enrichment for the Tyrannosaurs, they can see the Edmontosaurus on the other side of the gap that I've built here oddly enough, during building this, I've noticed that an Edmontosaur tends to hang out up here, almost as if it's keeping sentinel to watch for the approach of a Tyrannosaur. But there's a chasm here, and I still have a fence in there as extra additional protection. The animals should not be able to deal with the slopes on this separation. But, you know, every once in a while things glitch out and whatnot. So, yeah, this may be the male, because this one too has defaulted to its default skin, because this is leather hide and I had molten in here. And I had put in a pair. Don't know where the other ones hang out. Is he hiding in the trees? I don't see him or her. Molten has a very clear sexual dimorphism in the skin, and come on, go through that and come down to the Tyrannosaur House. And here's the oh, hello, you're stuck in the house again. They do this occasionally. And get out of the picture mode here. Alright, I'm gonna see if we can move it out. And this is Hila. That's okay, so that was him out there, and this is her. And what's she gonna do now that she's out of the wall? She's just gonna wander off. I really think the models in this game are fairly impressive. You know, some of the usual gaming issues of glitches in how they mate with the environment and stuff, but it's still good stuff to see Tyrannosaurs stalking across the landscape or laying down. But there you can see the difference between the male and female skins. The male is more brightly colored, which is pretty typical in the PK animals. So you've seen all the animals in the park now. I apologize for some of the glitches and what's going on. You can see our early guests are wandering through not only the park but each other. And there will be, I'm given to understand, a lot more variation in the guests as we go along. And I've got a fairly low frame rate, which explains the latency on the images of the guests as they walk close to the camera. But we're still only in alpha, it having just gone general. And thanks for stopping by, for checking out my park. I wanted to get something up soon. I hope to have a much better, much more complete park. Well, heck, I had a more complete park, but saving issues have prevented me from showing it at this time. And I really, like I said, did want to get something up to celebrate the wide opening of alpha to the supporters of Prehistoric Kingdom. So I hope you'll join me on this channel for additional Prehistoric Kingdom videos. I'll be starting a series of basic how-tos. Ignore the man with the exposed brain. I think that's a hairstyle that's going to be going away. And a variety of different kinds of videos related to working with Prehistoric Kingdom as a game, and possibly some supporting other materials for a park. I had hoped to take this park and continue to expand it in order to get it in preposition for some of the animals that will be coming along in early access. So right now the game is in alpha. If you're new to the game, you won't be able to buy in now until we get to early access. We'll be moving from alpha into beta, at which time I expect we'll see some more animals and other features as well. The devs are doing a bang-up job getting this stuff out. This alpha is much better than I had expected it to be. I think the Prehistoric Kingdom developers want to underpromise and overperform, and I applaud them for that. So I hope you found something of interest in this video, and we'll come back to see some other things, possibly when the park is performing better. My mountain in the background. So there it is. A lot more guests have been coming in while we've been chatting. And I will leave you looking out to see from this video. If you want to see more from me, of course, like it, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to have a lot more content coming out shortly. Thanks for stopping by. This is Dino Bob. Have a good day, and be nice to each other.